few minutes with you, and I thank you for extending your time. I had the privilege of leading the Women's Day class in Sacramento, and so I know many of you through your wives, and we pray for this class. We pray that you will just grow in the Word and that you will be the leaders in your family that God has intended. But Paul and I had the privilege of going to Ethiopia for a year. It was the fulfillment of a desire that the Lord put in our hearts over 50 years ago. And I teased Paul, it only took him 49 years to fulfill it. Okay. But we have gone with Rafiki, which means friend in Swahili. Rosemary Jensen and her husband Bob were the founders of Rafiki. They have 10 villages in 10 different African countries. Rosemary was the director of Bible Study Fellowship for almost 20 years. And she left Bible Study Fellowship at 70 years old to do Rafiki full time. So, and she is still serving. She's had a little, some little strokes, and she praises God that she still has her mind, although she has to use a walker now. And she doesn't want to go to Africa anymore because it means that someone has to look after her instead of caring for the work. So she is now sending Bibles to Africa and Ethiopia in particular, because as in many developing countries around the world, Bibles are hard to come by. And often even pastors, don't have full Bibles or access to study Bibles and concordances and the like. And so she continues to work, and she's been an example to me over 40 years of a woman who had feelings of inadequacy, actually, not feeling that she could do the work that she was called to do, but willing to step out in faith. And that's what Paul and I did. And we know that it wasn't something that we had to do or could do. It was something that we got to do. It was something that God opened the doors for, carried us there, and surprised us in many ways. If Paul will start the slides, I don't want to keep you too long. The work of Rafiki is to help improve the life of Africans and to help them to know God. And that is what we did. This chicken hut, Ethiopia is a very unique place. It is the last of the 10 villages to be opened in Africa and the smallest. But it is in a country that has many varieties. This is teff that is growing, and the woman is making injera. It is unique to the country. It is a high-protein, low-fat grain that is only grown in Ethiopia. This is the entrance to the village. And as you drive in, it's a 40-acre plot that was given to the Rafiki organization by the government of Ethiopia, as are the ones in the other country. Well, if you slow down a little bit, please. Okay. Okay. Each village houses orphans, and the work includes caring for widows. And so at the villages, missionaries, whether they are long-term or short-term, are promised clean, comfortable, and safe accommodations. And that's exactly what we got. This is a missionary house The first missionaries there raised children, so these homes are pretty large. And we had, we were comfortable, and we could keep it clean, except for the lizards that came. You get used to them. They come and you take them out. There are 2 vehicles in the village, and both of them are over 10 years old, and we are in the process of praying now to replace these vehicles. The roads are atrocious, except for the major highway that has been built by the Chinese. There are potholes big enough to turn a car over. There are donkey carts and horse carts and bajas and big trucks that are overloaded, and goats and camels and all the rest, the road. And one of the ways that God took care of us was that we received international driver's license before we left. But Ethiopia is the only country that doesn't acknowledge international driver's license. And we were thankful because our reflexes were just not good enough to drive there. But the village had a person who did drive us, around, and most of the work was in the village itself. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, let me kind of take over a little
Okay.
bit so I can go through this kind of quickly, because we really set it up for about 5 minutes, so I didn't want to bore you guys. But really, this is the interior of one of the homes that
That's a
we
guest
actually
house.
stay in. So that's the guest house. That's like the kitchen area right there. On the next slide, bring the next slide up. Then the next one is also the interior of the home that we actually stayed in. This is actually the resident home. So if you're one of the resident volunteers, you're going to stay in a place like this. This is actually a place. Next slide. Next one, bring it up. And you'll see also this is like the kitchen area and the area where we really have most of our meals right there.
The next slide is the 3 missionaries that we served with. Amy is on the far left. She has been a missionary for 9 years now, 6 years in Ghana, and 3 years in Ethiopia. And her husband Tekle is a national. He's an Ethiopian who became, he was a teacher with the Rafiki school and is now a missionary serving with her. Esther is a 24-year-old from outside of Chicago who came at 22 years old and to serve in Ethiopia. She's fearless. And such a blessing, to work with them. Before we came, it was only Amy and Esther who were missionaries there. Getting up in the middle of the night, starting the generator, making sure the pump worked, caring for the children, running the school, doing all the things that are necessary, on the village. We hope that we can talk to young people and middle-aged people in particular and inspire them to go to serve on the mission field. And Rafiki is a wonderful organization to go with. The children are well cared for. They are provided housing, and I think it'll come up in a couple of
those
slides.
are some of the workers right now. Here's a good view of the area, your Great Rift Valley. That's part of Africa, and you can see out there in the outlining area. That's pretty much the valley itself. You can see one of the housing. You can see we have street lights throughout the village, so it's well lit.
But
next
we
slide.
need people who can take
do a lot
care
of
of
maintenance.
it.
Yeah, we do a lot of maintenance. I actually supervise, fellas, a lot of maintenance. This is the tower. This is the water tower. Also, we have some more. Bring the next one. I think the next one also shows some of the lower tower. This is the water supply that we had, and that had to be maintained. So this is coming from the well that they actually dug, and it was an artesian well. So
we
had
can drink
good, clean
water. We can drink
Good, clean
water out of the tap.
Right.
when the town 5 minutes away could be without water for 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Next
without
slide.
electricity. Okay.
Yeah, now this is a real good picture of all of the kids. Not all of the kids, but a group of them. Yeah, so
You
that's.
can see they're well clothed.
Yes.
And they're provided for, and all of the funds are raised by people in outside of the country. Ethiopia is landlocked, and so everything they get is imported. And very sadly, the traditional crafts are being lost. And so these are the mothers who take care of
Took care of the kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of teaching. These are just our two youngest, children. Everyone in the village does Bible study every day. The guards, the workers, the kitchen helpers, the mothers, the teachers. I had the privilege of teaching Revelations and Hebrews to 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. Okay? And they're expository teaching, just like you do here at Bible study, verse by verse. They are memorizing and studying and applying the Word of God. And Rafiki has a Bible curriculum for the preschool where the children began learning English as well as their national Amharic. I started in 1st grade trying to learn a little bit of the language and demoted myself to preschool. They have 127 characters in their language, and it's ancient language, very much like Chinese characters, and very complicated. Some of the girls, these are 6th graders, and Paul had the privilege of helping them start the middle school for these kids. They'll have it by next year when they graduate. Rafiki sponsors these children, the 52 resident orphans and 105 day students from the community. If the resident children, if they qualify past the national exams, Rafiki will pay for them to go through university. If not, they will make sure that they have some technical, skills as well. One of the sad things that was part of my responsibility was to read letters from sponsors who were telling the children, you may not get as many letters from me now. I am 90 years old, and so I can't see as well, and I am not writing. Those who are funding, these villages are growing older, and we need people to go on rafiki.org and see what you can do to help. They have in all of the other villages, there are schools through high school and a RICE program, Rafiki Institute of Christian Education, where they are training teachers to teach a classical Christian education and to teach arts, both music and other art, and also technical schools. In Tanzania, where we visited, there was a master carver who was teaching the trade, weaving and other things, so that these things are not lost. Paul taught PE.
Yeah, this is the area that we really worked with the kids a lot with physical education. You can see it's concrete. Basketball, we play basketball with the kids, tether ball. We would have that set up. Roll the next slide. Here's some of the kids in my PE class. The girls, the next one, roll the next one. I show the boys too. And really, it's just really physical education, PE, just having fun. Next slide. Here's the construction site where we're building the new school. This is going to be the junior high school. So you can see we hired a lot of the locals in town to do a lot of the work. That's myself right there. Next slide. I think there's another one showing some more of it. And you can see now all of this is manual labor too. talking about nothing as far as a lot of the big rigs. What we did have is a large backhoe that did a lot of the physical digging. But after that, you can see most of that was laid out. These are some of the local kids, not even in our village, just in the area. I just took a couple of shots of them just to show you some of the other kids that we came across in the area. This was also the gentleman that was our main administrator and his family. He was the local, and he was really what we call the local administrator that helped us out as far as
He was our
running
translator, our
everything.
driver,
He was
our contact with the government.
everything.
And one of the joys of being there was getting to know the people and, and being invited into their homes.
Yeah, and back there was his house too. A little. Well, next one. Okay.
These are missionaries. They come. They are 77 and 74 years old, and the baby on the left is a doctor, and the one on the right is her nurse friend. And they come to the Rafiki villages, despite different ailments, to do examinations and care for the children. There are doctors and nurses and dentists and the like in Ethiopia. Anyone who qualifies, the government will pay for that training. The problem is equipment. They don't have, many resources for good medical equipment. Okay, she's a doctor also.
Right,
yeah.
she's the local. She actually was out of Addis Ababa. Roll the next one. Same person. Just show you how. That's patient with a lot of the kids right there. Next one. That's my birthday when I had my birthday over there in the 73rd.
That cake served the whole village.
Right. There's some of the kids.
They don't eat sweets,
They don't
and
have
just
a lot
a
of
little sliver of cake was a real treat. We purchased the only apples that these kids had ever eaten because they're expensive. They get 3 meals a day and snacks, which they gave up snacks for a month so that they could send money and food to refugees on the Somali border. They're learning, to give back as well. And that is the desire of Rafiki. It's not to raise these children to be to be adopted out, but to raise them so that they can give back to their communities. Right? We were visited by the National Director of Women's and Children's Ministries, who thanked us and was thanking God because she said we were in answer to prayer. She was raised and went to school in a mission school, and now she and other Christian missionaries were meeting together, praying for their country, and serving. And they are so grateful for any help, that they receive. So
let me point out one thing. That picture right there, we have it right there. So if you have time, you kind of look at that picture that they were presenting to us. This was the ceremony when we're getting ready to leave. And back here, right here, they do a coffee ceremony too. So that was something else that is pretty traditional throughout Ethiopia. You always have coffee ceremonies. Go next one. And here we with some of the groups of children, and they're because really it was like 5 areas or 5 units, or 5 groups of children, and each one of them. Here's another slide. Bring another one up, Rudy. The girls, the boys. That was me in this traditional. This is some like part of it. I have also the bottoms. I also have the hat, but I didn't want to wear all that stuff. Macia has her stuff also. Yeah, so you can see her there with the kids. Roll the next one. Yeah, there you go. There's the 2 of us, and she had a cute little bee thing right there. Yeah, and that's one of the other mothers over there.
the children have a mother assigned to their home. They have chores and other responsibilities. They are a family.
Yeah.
And there are, besides the mothers, we have assistant mothers who come to give them a break sometime for their vacations and the like. But they're responsible for their health, and so that's it. Any questions? Any questions? don't want to keep you too long.
Right.
That was just a school that you were at, right?
It's the village houses homes for the resident orphans, school preschool through elementary, and they're building the junior high, and they'll build a high school as God provides. Rafiki does not have an endowment, with a lot of money, stored away. They are a faith ministry like Bible Study Fellowship, and they trust that the money will be there when it's needed. And so, they just take one step at a time in regards to that as the Lord puts on the hearts of others, to give and to serve.
Is Rafiki associated with VSF?
Not any longer. Rosemary was still the director of Bible Study Fellowship when they started Rafiki, and then she retired at 70 from Bible Study Fellowship. And because BSF's mission is different from Rafiki's, the call for Rafiki is to serve these orphans and widows. Okay, they still, of course, are teaching the Bible. That's why they're there, right? But it's a different mission. But many missionaries, especially almost all of them in the beginning, were BSF teaching leaders at one time or another. But you can go on short-term missions. You can take your children. We have people going through for 2 weeks, for a month, and 2 months, but they are specifically looking for people who are teachers who can come, for several months or a year, okay, to serve.
Bishop, can you real quick tell the kids about your 3-year-old?
Yeah.
He's not. He's
What are the
9 years
shots?
old now. But Abel
Yeah.
is
Keep rolling it, Rudy. When it comes to him, we'll let you know.
okay. Abel was my challenge in the village. Okay, he was on the streets at 3 years old, surviving on his own. I can't get my head around that. But you can imagine how independent and spontaneous and
Go back.
okay.
Go back.
It's me standing up with the boy, but
That's him right there.
okay.
And let me tell you guys, he was a challenge because really with me, I'm like, nobody can outdo me. But this little kid, I tell you, he was the kid that just, really, he ran me ragged.
Smart.
Very smart. But
He
I
was
learned
failing.
not to chase him. 'Cause
He
I
was
couldn't catch him.
failing 4th grade, not because he couldn't do the work. He was just bored, okay, and didn't feel like he was doing. So he was failing 4th grade, and we said, "Oh, you are smarter than this." And he goes, "Yes, and I am smarter than the 3rd graders. So when they come to 4th grade, I'll be their leader." I go, "It doesn't work like that." Oh, okay. We had there's a story for every child, but there was another boy, Dagam, who was found sleeping with the sheep and the goats to keep warm, when he was 4 years old. And he came to the village. He didn't know how to drink out of a glass. He lapped water and was scared to go inside because people would drive him away, from the homes. And he can still outrace every child in the village on all fours.
No, really, you guys, really, it is sort of unbelievable, his speed on all fours. He could get down, and I was amazed myself of how fast, because what I did was I had him race other kids just, straight out right, and he got down and this kid was that fast on all fours.
He looks like any normal child now.
Right.
Okay, and walks and talks and does all these things, but that is still, remains from that experience that he had, on his own. There are all kinds of situations, that the children came through, and there are even a couple of children that we believe now they probably do have mothers and fathers. They lied to get them in the school, but we believe that God is sovereign and they're there for a reason and they will stay. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. We were challenged many times, but the time went very quickly, and the work was truly, rewarding. So if the Lord puts it on your heart, just let us know. There are some cards on the table if you're interested. If you have groups of young people that you would like us to talk to, we're available for that. We especially, everyone is taking breaks now after high school and going to Europe or wherever, for a year off. We think it would be more productive for a college graduate to take that break and to spend perhaps a year in Africa or another place where the work is so needed. True religion is serving widows and orphans, and it is God's work. He rewards us exceedingly abundantly above what we could have thought or asked.
I'm so glad to meet you. I've heard so much about you. My wife was in BSS.